Narvik Airport, Framnes, Norwegian, Narvik lufthavn, Framnes, IATA, NVK, ICAO, ENNK, is a former public regional airport closed down in 2017 in Narvik Municipality in Nordland County, Norway. It was located at Framnes in the town of Narvik, along the Ofotfjorden. It was operated by the state-owned Avinor and consisted of a 965-meter, 3,166 feet, runway aligned 0119, roughly north-south. The airport closed on April 1, 2017, due to the construction of the new Hålogaland bridge, opened December 2018, which shortened the journey to the larger Harstad-Narvik Airport, Evans, making that the primary airport for Narvik. Until its closure, the airport was served by Avinor, who operate a public service obligation route to Bodø. Narvik is now only served by the primary Harstad/Narvik Airport, Evans, capable of jetliner operations. The airport handled 27,142 passengers in 2012. Narvik was served by a seaplane service from 1935 to 1939 and from 1946 to 1971. Planning of Evans started during the 1950s, but from the late 1968 Narvik Municipality proposed building both a regional and primary airport. Framnes was completed in 1972, a year before Evans, and scheduled services started on October 1, 1975. The terminal building was completed in 1986 and the airport was nationalized in 1997. Avinor has operated at the airport since the opening, except from 2003 to 2006, when the airport was served by ICAO Air. The first scheduled airline service to Narvik was carried out by Norwegian Airlines in 1935. Using a Junkers W-34, they flew a coastal route between Bergen and Tromsø, which landed in Narvik. The route continued until 1939 when it was terminated because of the breakout of World War II. The route resumed in 1946, when it was flown with a Junkers Ju-52. The water aerodrome consisted of a floating pier in the port. Avinor started flying to Narvik in 1951, at first flying via Svolvær to Bodø. DNL's successor Scandinavian Airlines System, SAS, terminated its seaplane routes the following year, leaving them to Avinor, who operated the Nordland Norseman and de Havilland Canada. The first scheduled airline service to Harstad and Narvik was carried out by Norwegian Airlines, DNL, in 1935. Using a Junkers W-34, they flew a coastal route between Bergen and Tromsø, with stops in Narvik and Harstad. The route continued until 1939 when it was terminated because of the breakout of World War II. The route resumed in 1946, when it was flown with a Junkers Ju-52. DNL also operated a direct service between Harstad and Narvik. Harstad's water aerodrome was located at Klubbsgjerdet in the town centre. For a while there were discussion of moving it to Harstadbotn, but this was not carried out. Seaplane routes were only conducted during the summer. Avinor started flying to Narvik in 1951, at first flying via Svolvær to Bodø. DNL's successor Scandinavian Airlines System, SAS, terminated its seaplane routes the following year, leaving them to Avinor, who operated the Nordland Norseman and de Havilland Canada. Patronage at Harstad was 1,143 passengers in 1946, 2,725 the following year and 8,037 in 1959. The latter year saw 6,139 passengers at Narvik. The Harstad-Narvik area had been proposed as a potential location of Bardufoss Air Station when it had been planned during the late 1930s. However, Bardufoss has been selected because of its favorable strategic location. About 1950 discussions started regarding construction of an airport between Bodø and Tromsø. In Narvik work started on planning an airport in Evans, which was approved by Narvik Municipal Council in February 1951. However, it also considered several closer locations, such as Herjangfjellet, Elfgerdsmoen, Hakvikvlera, and Vidrek. An important issue for Narvik was the necessary construction of the Rambakk Bridge to cut travel time to Evans. The civilian sector at Bardufoss Airport opened in 1956. It served all of Tromsø as well as Ofotfjorden. Travel time to Bardufoss was 3 hours, 120 kilometers in a ferry, from Narvik. A government committee which had received a mandate to consider future airports, concluded with a report on December 16, 1964. It recommended that 9 more primary airports be built and that Evans and Kristiansund Airport, Kvernberget, receive top priority. The committee noted SAS' introduction of the Sud Aviation Caravel and wanted to build a network of airport capable of handling jetliners. It argued for Evans as a good location that despite it being slightly closer to Harstad-Narvik would be closer to Bardufoss and have an advantage of it as a reserve airport. At a common meeting for 11 Southern Troms and Ofotfjorden municipalities on May 11, 1965, these unanimously supported Evans. They established a committee, which issued a report to the government in June 1966, which concluded that it would be possible to have an airport completed by 1968. The airlines Groeth and Safe and Wintero both launched an alternative proposal whereby the government instead should build a network of short takeoff and landing airports. When Håkon Killingmark was appointed Minister of Transport and Communications in 1965, he placed the primary airport construction plan on hold and instead focused on construction of regional airports. This caused local interest for airports at Ofotfjorden and Vidrek to resume, after initiative from Wintero. Several commercial interest organizations in Narvik supported an airport at Vidrek, while their Harstad counterparts supported an airport at Evans. Narvik Municipal Council continued to support Evans until it was instead proposed as a regional airport. It voted in February 1968 to continue to support Evans as a primary airport, but also work for a local airport in Narvik. Planning of an airport at Vidrek started in 1968 and in early 1969 the company AS Narvik Flightplass was established. Meetings were held with the ministry, where it was determined that planning would have to wait until further reports were made on the regional network in Nordland. Killingmark stated in 1970 that he intended to allow Narvik to receive a regional airport. The breakthrough for Narvik Airport came when the mining company ICAO, which exports its ore through Narvik, needed a place to dump earthwork. An agreement was made with the municipality whereby it received the earthwork free of charge and placed at a suitable location at Framnes, a lot which was owned by ICAO. The municipal council approved in July 1971 plans to build a short takeoff and landing airport at Framnes, based on a 13-year free lease of the land. Government permission for a general aviation airport was issued in early 1972 and technical approval from the Civil Aviation Administration was granted in August. Harstad-Narvik Airport, Evans opened on 30 June 1973. At first Framnes only served general aviation, but in late 1974 Parliament approved that the airport be used for subsidized regional aviation. The airport started with scheduled traffic on October 1, 1975. The original terminal building was a residential house which had been in the way for the runway and moved to a suitable location. Initial services were provided by Wintero using a 19-passenger de Havilland Canada Twin Otter with flights provided to Bodo Airport, Harstad-Narvik Airport, Evans, Svolvær Airport, Hella, and Stokmarknes Airport, Skagen. The airport handled 19,135 passengers in 1985. A new terminal opened on September 24, 1986. It cost 7 million Norwegian krone, ENNK, of which the state paid 75% and the remainder was financed by local governments. The new terminal building was 400 square meters, 4,300 square feet, and the control tower was expanded with 100 square meters, 1,100 square feet. The airport lacked a suitable garage for a fire truck, so a municipal fire engine had to be driven 2.4 kilometers, 1.5 miles, to the airport every time a plane landed. The upgraded terminal allowed Wintero to start serving Narvik with a 50-passenger de Havilland Canada-7. Wintero replaced their older aircraft with the Dash 8 between 1993 and 1995. The airport was taken over by the state in the Civil Aviation Administration, later renamed Avinor, on January 1, 1997. Routes to Narvik Airport, Framnes have been subject to public service obligations since April 1, 1997, with the first contract being won by Wintero. In the third tender, which became operational on April 1, 2003, ICAO Air won the bid to operate the route from Narvik to Bodo. In March 2004 they resigned the contract from March 8, 2005. The ministry subsequently issued a new tender, but no airlines bid. The ministry was forced to renegotiate the contract with ICAO Air, which resulted in the subsidy for the last 13 months increasing from 8 Norwegian kroner to 18.2 million. The result of ICAO Air taking over the route in 2003 was that the patronage had been halved. Wintero recaptured the Narvik contract from April 1, 2006. In the tender valid from April 1, 2012 the routes to Svolvær, Leknes, Rogst, and Narvik were awarded to Danish Air Transport. 2 weeks before operations were to start, the Civil Aviation Authority of Norway stated that DAT did not meet the safety requirements, resulting in Widerøe instead being awarded the contract. The main issue resolved around the installation of the SCADI landing system. The time from the tender was completed until the operation started was 8 weeks, but it took 8 months to install the system. DAT stated that the introduction of the SCADI system had resulted in an de facto monopoly for Widerøe. DAT sued the ministry for breaching the tender rules, but lost the case. The government supported the construction of Hålogaland Bridge on the condition that Narvik Airport, Framnes, be closed. Minister of Transport Magnhild Meltveit Kleppa stated in 2010 that money saved on having to upgrade the runway safety area in the operating deficits of the airport and subsidies for the route could help finance the bridge, estimated to cost 2.2 billion Norwegian kroner. The bridge will reduce the travel distance by road from Narvik to the Evens by 18 kilometers, 11 miles, and 20 minutes, to 61 kilometers, 38 miles, and 55 minutes. Construction of the bridge started on February 18, 2013 and is scheduled for completion near the end of 2017. Widerøe, the only operator, decided to move the only line at Framnes, from Bodø, to Evens Airport on April 1, 2017, and increase its traffic there. The runway is 965 meters, 3,166 feet, and a line 0119, roughly north-south. The airport is located at Framnes, 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles, from the town center. The airport has taxis, car rental, and paid parking for 40 vehicles. At the time of closure, the airport's only service was a Widerøe route to Bodø, operated using the -8 to 100. The route was subsidized through a public service obligation with the Ministry of Transport and Communications. The airport handled 27,142 passengers, 2,586 aircraft movements and 0.6 tons of cargo in 2014. Cato Air Flight 605 took place on September 29, 2004, when an Algerian asylum seeker attacked the pilots with an axe. He boarded the Bodø-bound flight at Framnes and attacked the pilots mid-flight and attempted to take control over the aircraft. He was overpowered by 2 passengers and the first officer was able to take control over the aircraft, which was only 30 meters, 100 feet, from the ground. Steins, Christian, 2003. Vedagni Kretter, Harstad's History 1904 to 2004, in Norwegian. Harstad, Harstad Kommune. ISBN 82-996787-0-6. Svensson, Agvar, 2002. Narvik's History, Storhetsted, Britningsted, Framtidskap, in Norwegian. 2. Narvik, Stiftelsen Narvik's Historieverk. ISBN 82-996128-2-9.